Let her go, ain't nothing sexy about it.
Crazy enough, the way that marketing is so influential and impactful in our lives, I always go back to the story of De Beers and how they made a diamond ring such a thing for engagement.
And also ongoing tradition that is enforced by
worldwide, bro, globally.
That's crazy, man.
So, for example, I'm not gonna mention the brand, but there was a cigarette brand in South Africa that when they were launching, and so what they did is they just took empty boxes of their cigarette brand and would go to popular hangout spots and litter the ground with the cigarette boxes. And so then people would think that, oh wow, this is the brand that people are smoking. What is this thing? And they pick up the brand.
Champions, and we are back with a bang, back like always. My nigga Arturo always says, yeah baby, this is the afternoon drive show. My name is Trendy. If you didn't know, now you know. Lit music and dope chats is what we are about. Welcome back to it. We've been away for a while, but got a special announcement for you guys. Of course. The reason we've been so away, it's not because we don't like you guys or you guys felt that you didn't love what we do out here. We've been missing you. Hella missing you. We just had to cook up something very dope. We are now available on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, on FFTV, Friendlyfiretv, if you do not know. And we got a special guest in the house to kick off this beautiful new venture that we on. Myself, Arturo, and the man with the vision, CJ, have taken up an idea that we've been speaking about. And we're like, yo, let's take this show to the next level. But it's not all about me. It's UCT Radio up in here, the soundtrack to your campus life. Thank you for them for allowing us to do this in their studios. So you're about to see some new stuff out here. We always drop our socials at the end of the show. Make sure you listen up again today because that's where you're going to find everything. Arturo!
Yes, sir. And as you know, it is your mom's favorite son-in-law, a.k.a. Arthur Mexico. And we back with a bang. I think the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, boy.
Everyone knows now.
Yeah, boy.
We're not only on the airways.
Yeah, boy.
We're not only on the streaming platforms.
Yeah, boy.
We are also on YouTube.
YT, my nigga.
Some motherfucking noise.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, but of course today won't be possible without our guest today. I am going to introduce him very shortly. And as usual, for everyone listening out there home live, please do send us your messages and tell us what you're doing and what's happening.
Yeah, baby.
And also, obviously, on today's special edition, please do send through all your questions to the man himself that we have here in studio today. And for those of you watching at home, listen. Comment, share, like, and subscribe. Tell your granny, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your cousins, tell everyone we are here and we're here to stay. So now the moment that everyone's been waiting for, on my left over here, as you can see, I've got Mr. Tebe Monze. Tebe is a PR, strategic communications and qualitative market researcher with 7 years of career experience and 5 years of entrepreneurial experience. So he began his career at TBWA as a PR account and ZEC, and ever since has worked for big agencies such as your Instant Grass International, Off Limit Communications, and FCB Africa. Utebe also leads his own consultancy, Endurance Africa. You might have seen it online, of course, and holds a BCom PPE degree from the University of Cape Town. I must say quickly, full circle, by the way, Tebe has also been involved at UCT Radio. Very glad to have you. Finally, we release you.
He's an alumni.
Tebe, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for being here. First of all, please tell us how you're doing. How did you feel today when you woke up? What's happening, man?
What's happening, mate?
Thank you so much for having me on, gents. It's good to be back. Obviously, I've been at UCT Radio before. I did the graveyard shift in the training.
Oh, nice.
As well, and did the.
Did you sleep on the couches?
No, I was at Kopano Res, so I literally would walk to campus and do the show and then go
and then
back
walk back
to Kopano. Yeah.
Hey, at that time of the night, you weren't afraid, nothing like that?
I don't know. I think it didn't click in my mind that might have been something dangerous to do. But yeah, it was just like you walk and you come back. I think maybe if I was staying somewhere further down in Rondebosch or something like that, it would have been like a thing. But like, yeah, that bridge, that connect and you just walk through is a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they target UCT students, eh?
No, things have also gotten a bit crazier. Remember, from around what time were you here? 2016?
Yeah.
Things have gotten crazier since
much
then.
crazier.
Yeah. There's also less visibility of people on the roads, you get me? And, speaking about visibility, I don't know if you guys see what I did there. For those at home, right, just before we start our interview and we get into the cricks and cracks of the things, right, when we talk about strategic communication and just speaking to your experience in the marketing industry when you were fully into the 9 to 5, and we will get into your entrepreneurship journey very soon. What is it? What does it entail? How does it help a business?
So strategic communication for me. So first of all, I didn't study marketing, PR, comms. I studied a BCom PPE.
So sorry, I was also you jump straight to my next question. Like that, how did you create that link?
Okay, so while I was at Rez, I bumped into a video online on YouTube, and it was from the first agency that I started working at, and it was just a case study about what they do, and it was during the time when I was like thinking about, I'm leaving varsity. What am I gonna do with my life? Where do I start?
Yeah, where do you start?
So I was looking for opportunities, and I happened to bump into this video on YouTube, and I thought to myself, I think like this. I could do whatever these guys do. Like, I think like this. And then I called up a mentor, and they plugged me with an interview. And that's pretty much how my career started. So from my experience, what strategic communication is trying to problem solve for what brands, clients are trying to communicate to the market. So they could be having any kind of problem. I mean, one of the examples that I saw from the case study that I'd watched on YouTube was for a pharmaceutical company that had a drug which was not allowed to be advertised in the market because it was a schedule of drug that was not permissible for advertising. But they were bringing it into the market. It was for weight loss, and they needed to communicate that this product is available. You can ask for it over the counter. You can ask your doctor.
I'm going to be slightly controversial. They had to sell a lie almost.
No, it's not selling a lie. It's just trying to find a workaround. So what they
said like a true PR genius.
Well, it's not entirely a lie, but he said it's in the class that's not supposed to be advertised, right?
Yeah, so it was not supposed to be
because of its potency or
whatever.
Yes,
so it's not supposed to be advertised. So how do we let people know that this thing exists? How do we let a lot of people know that this thing exists so that they can buy it without advertising it?
Yeah.
And the strategy that they came up with was to get people to call into radio stations, to write into newspapers that they felt like the weight loss efforts had not worked. And so they were looking for other ways to lose the weight. And so then what happened was this agency then went to the newspapers, went to the radio stations, and then told them that, hey, there's this product that your callers have been calling in asking about weight loss, and so there's this product. This is the person that is the spokesperson for the company, and so they can come through and talk about this product and what it is. That's not advertising. That is a radio interview. That's PR. So that is strategic communication. So that's one way to problem solve for that particular issue. There are a lot of issues that brands and businesses have that need a mind to think about, a creative mind to think about how they can communicate a message, a product, an event,
tap into certain markets and
into certain markets. And so,
wow, man, such an ingenious idea, actually, because when you think about it, cigarettes, as you were mentioning, cigarettes, for example, are something that are not supposed to be advertised, and you'll never see a cigarette ad, but the way that it's so glamorized on movies, sometimes in music videos and so on and so forth, you just see that, like, that's advertising in itself.
And it's very
you know?
subtle, right? It's
subtle.
It's meant to be that when you correct us if we're wrong, for it to not look unnatural, but at the same time be able to influence.
Yeah,
and
also,
make an impact.
It gets very creative. So, for example, I'm not going to mention the brand, but there was a cigarette brand in South Africa that when they were launching, needed to get to popularize the brand because there was already a cigarette brand that existed in the market really
that
had a stronghold.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they just took empty boxes of their cigarette brand and would go to popular hangout spots and litter the ground with the cigarette boxes. And so then people would think that, oh wow, this is the brand that people are smoking. What is this thing? And they pick up the box and then look. And no one really knew that was what was happening at the time. And I'm also not sure if this brand got like sanctioned or what happened because it's become like general knowledge amongst like the people that do these case studies and the research around how to strategically
infiltrate markets.
Enter markets. So I mean, it gets really creative. I mean, alcohol brands, sometimes you'll be at the bar and someone will like sit right next to you. You'll sit next to someone and they'll buy you a random drink. And you might not even know. Yeah, I think we've worked together on a project like that, right? Yeah, and you'll be introduced to like a new drink. So it gets very, very creative. And I think that's the exciting thing about strategic comms is you're not limited to just, advertising as in what you're going to see as an advert on your TV screen, as a YouTube video ad or, digitally. There's an entire universe of ways to communicate a product or a brand to people that you can get really creative about. And so finding the best approach to meet the outcome that your client is looking for is a really, a cool way to just stretch your mind and get creative and excited about bringing a product or brand to the market and to people.
Crazy. Wow, man.
So before we jump
I need to hang out with smart people like this, bro.
Listen,
like, I'd have my million by now.
Whoever's got the cheat code, and there's some more stuff that we're going to get into. Because, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, everyone listening at home and on YouTube right now, today's topic is around innovating the creative industry.
Yeah, man.
Right. And the reason why we have Tebe here today, and as you could just hear from that intro, by the way, that was just the intro.
That was just the intro.
We haven't even asked you questions yet.
We haven't even gone into this thing as of yet. Whoa.
So that's why we're speaking to Tebe today, someone that has been involved, on the grounds and, at a very strategic level, in these levels of campaigns. We're talking about innovation around the creative industry.
Yeah.
Right? The creative industry for decades and decades has been an industry that has been very hard, believe it or not, for young people to thrive
within,
especially with their ideas.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So now, before we go into depths with that, and we have a few questions there, right? We spoke about nature of campaigns and so on. I just wanted to ask you something about because ethics and morals is something very important to make sure that we govern society properly and we govern society fairly, right?
And we don't push narratives that drive a negative outcome.
Yes, 100%, right? How important is that in your industry specifically, and how do you reckon people are supposed to conduct themselves to make sure that we maintain that? Because when it comes to results and numbers, there's greed, right?
Yeah.
And everyone wants to make money. But how do we sort of have an equilibrium where we do that without screwing over the consumer?
Yeah. So that's such a tricky question because I think it's something that the industry...
You should have left that for last.
Starting with the hard-hitting questions first.
He's going in.
That's I think it's something that the industry grapples with like all the time, So for example, in a country like South Africa where we have a population that struggles with alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
But the biggest brands and the biggest budgets come from alcohol brands. And they also contribute to the livelihoods of so many people. So many young people, so many people that are starting out as event organizers, DJs,
reps,
things. People starting venues, restaurants, how do you reconcile, what we know about South Africa and our liquor consumption, but also the industry, and the participation of alcohol brands in the industry. It's something that we grapple with all the time, and it gets very gray. I think okay, I think I can at least speak for myself, because I think everyone in the industry has a different perspective.
Yeah.
I think every agency and every marketer has their own ethos, their own values that guide what kind of output the agency is going to deliver.
Yeah.
So, for example, an agency like MNC Saatchi's ethos is brutal simplicity of thought. Okay. So what they try to do is they try to take whatever the client is bringing to them as a challenge and whittle it down to its most basic issue, idea, and then go to market, and then go back to the client and go to market with a super simple idea that will resonate. So every agency has their own ethos and values, and I think that's what sort of guides us, and then the industry bodies collectively will look at the work that each agency is doing and what each individual in the agency and I suppose award or reward people for the work that they're doing. But for me personally, I have my own values that I try to sort of have guide the kind of output that I deliver on. Marketers are not trying to be like superheroes of the world. Yeah. So they're gonna sell
I
alcohol.
like how you put that out there.
They not. And the crazy thing is, a lot of the work that wins awards is the work that positions the brands that we work with as those kind of superheroes. But I don't think marketers themselves and the industry itself, we play a role, but our role isn't to save
the world.
It's to contribute towards building a better world in the way that we do. But I think everyone weighs the cost-benefit analysis and their value system. So if anything, I would say the market ends up sort of deciding according to who the work goes to. So who the brands and businesses and the people who cheer on these brands and businesses decide are the agencies and the brands that they support. Those are really, so it's really the consumers that make the decision for us. You know what I mean? So if the consumers feel like, the alcohol industry is doing amazing work and we're going to support all the branding initiatives, the marketing initiatives, the advertising initiatives that come from that industry, then the consumers are deciding, and the marketing industry's role is to just communicate as best as we can,
as best as possible.
To meet the needs of what the consumers are saying. So I think it's a very gray space to be in, and there's no right answer. Everyone sort of tries to come up with their own sort of answer, but
Wow. Hectically crazy, man. I think a lot has been said, and before our mouths dry a little bit, let's take a sip of some water, listen to some music, quick nyana. We gotta go to the ads. We gotta make sure the station is still moving.
We need to put on the lights.
We need to put on the lights.
Hey, I'm as busy focusing on YouTube here on a Tuesday and forgetting that, hey man, we need to pay the lights. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Saturday afternoon drive show with your boy Trendy and Arthur Mexico. Today we've got Tebe as our guest, and if you guys have any questions for him, if you guys want to send us a shout out or just tell us you love us, drop on our social media pages, drop us a voice note, and we'll be back in a
jiffy.
few.
And those social media pages are at UCT Radio on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you check them out. We'll drop the channels ones a little bit later, but otherwise, man, Instagram at UCT Radio. That's Instagram and Twitter. And without saying too much, Lit Music and Dope Chats is what we're about. We'll be back. Yep, Musa, Mad in Love, and the time is exactly 5 minutes before the hour of 5. You are still tuned in, UCT Radio, the soundtrack to your campus life. The name's Trendy. If you didn't hear it the first time, we back like Kumkolo with the boys in Arturo Mexicano, and we
Yes,
got
sir.
a special guest in the house, Mr. Tebe Monse, specialist in strategic communications and PR. You know, most of the world is driven by marketing, man. You know, crazy enough, the way that marketing is so influential and impactful in our lives, I always go back to the story of De Beers and how they made a diamond ring such a thing for engagements, bro.
That's the
Because
craziest thing.
yeah, like it's like they played on people's minds and feelings and everything, like, yo,
And now
to
it's a-
prove that this is the lady,
And now
to,
it's an
to put
ongoing
value to it.
tradition that is enforced by
Worldwide,
the church itself.
bro, globally.
That's crazy, man. And
You know,
talking,
that's the power of marketing.
talking,
Good marketing.
and talking about, marketing, we've got one of those people that are making those things happen live here
check.
with us on studio
I
today.
actually want to know from Tebe, right? Growing up, I always used to memorize the ads, and at home when I was sitting in front of the TV, they'd be like, "Yo, you know this one too," and then I'd be like, no, I'm there." You know, I'd word for word memorize all the ads and everything, and even though I never went on to sort of play within the marketing sector or industry, because I'm now in information tech and this whole DJing thing, but I've always found myself having to collaborate with people of that industry because of my interests, which made me believe that I do have some sort of an inclination for it, based on the fact that I've always had that love for media from a young age. For you, when did you kind of see that, actually, I've got a knack for this thing, man. I think I could, go and study BCom at the University of Cape Town and lead a career in advertising and PR and so on.
I never knew.
You never
to
knew,
be honest,
really?
I never knew. So I will say, and this is something that I've discovered very recently, is that I just discovered that I've got a memory that remembers visuals, video better than me reading words and stuff like that. So I could sit on YouTube and remember everything that I just watched.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? And I grew up watching, coming back from school and watching the news with my grandfather religiously, literally from the time that I came back from school. And there was that pattern where it's it'd be I don't know, the 2-3 o'clock news.
Yeah.
And then there's the
the
5 o'clock
headlines.
news.
Yeah.
And then there's the 7 o'clock news. And then there's the 7:30. And then there's a 8:30. Then there's, And so I'd sit with my grandfather and watch my cartoons and then watch the soapies and everything in between as well. And so I think from that, I suppose they just developed over time this curiosity about that media, that medium, and I didn't know. So I suppose even for my mom, who plugged me with my first mentor, I don't know if she was taking a chance or how that worked out in the universe. Or she knew, I don't know. Yeah.
Was your mentor somebody that was in this space that you're now working in?
Wow.
Yes.
What a
Yes.
Wow, that's it. Yeah,
So, and even when I saw the video on YouTube, because it was literally, I saw the video on YouTube and then I was like, I carve how these people think.
Yeah.
I can think like these guys.
Yeah.
I think like these guys. I can do what they
You
do.
can do what they do.
And then I searched the agency that was responsible for the video, and then I found out that it was they are reputation management consultants, which is a substrata of PR.
Okay.
Right? So they do a very particular kind of PR.
PR, yeah.
And then when I was reputation management and I searched what reputation management, I was like, oh, this is PR, this is comms. And then I was like, oh shit, my mentor works in this industry. Let me just find out from him, what's up? Maybe
what's this
you
whole
know,
business
so-
about?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it happened that he did know one of the people that the leaders in that agency, and so that's sort of how I got set up. But I can't say that there was any indication from my upbringing that I would end up in this industry.
Yeah.
It sort of just happened. to be
And
honest.
during the time you were studying BCom, it was BCom
PPE.
PPE.
Yeah.
What's BCom PPE?
So I didn't start out studying a BCom PPE, but a BCom PPE is politics, philosophy, and economics.
Okay.
And it's basically just taking into consideration the ethical, political, and economic considerations
Yeah.
of actors.
Of-
So
okay,
whether it's a
okay.
state or a company or an
Yeah.
individual, when you look at the actions at a micro to macro level,
macro level.
what like
Oh, yeah.
what considerations should you think of? So that's what a PPE is,
Yeah.
and so I think lending that thinking to strategic communication and marketing, I think, is very powerful, because if you're dealing with a brand, then you can think about like what an individual is going to feel about a specific piece of comms.
Yeah.
You can think about what it might mean for the brand and the business. You can also think about at a national or global
national
level,
yes, that's true.
how this might impact, people
Yeah.
or the business, the industry. So, and even the PPE, I also like sort of found myself in a PPE. I started out with studying BCom law.
Okay. I can see that working for you as well.
Law.
What they become law.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was me watching Suits growing up.
Yeah, you
and
see
seeing
a
how
Harvey
the
Specter in
actors
there.
did it. You could do a young Harvey Specter.
Young Harvey Specter and Mike
Monseigneur.
Ross.
I could rock a suit and deliver a young monologue and put
I'll
on
be
a
your
bit of a performance. My grandfather, funny enough, wanted me to be a lawyer, like because we'd watch
Also,
the
that's
news.
where that inspiration came from.
Yeah, so we'd watch the news, and he had his lawyer, he had his guy.
Okay.
His name was Fenter.
Okay.
So if anyone started anything with him, he was like, "You're not Funela Fenter." And so even when we were watching the news, he'd like be on some, Haula, agente ngwanaka, a procureur. He was like, because a procureur, because like those are the guys that are gonna get the stuff done. So I grew up with that in the back of my mind, thinking like I should probably study law, because that was like his vibe, his thing. And he was a policeman. So,
okay. So no wonder he was a man who was,
Who knew the law.
for the law.
yeah,
We
so
knew
he
the
was,
law.
yeah.
Wow, and look, let's talk about your transition. So you've worked on strategy on brands such as big brands, by the way, McDonald's, Telcom, Ellen Gray, Maserati, and the list goes on and on and on. It's very hard, especially nowadays, to do that transition from your traditional 9 to 5 to being able to go into entrepreneurship. So please tell us a bit more about that journey and what pushed you to make that decision, and tell us more about your
trials and
companies,
tribulations.
the trials and tribulations, as well as your company Endurance Africa.
Awesome. Okay, so I think I've always been just a little bit of hustler. I'm not sure even if hustler is the right word. I think I've been a very curious person, and I like doing things. So even when I was at varsity, I worked at Markham's as a sales assistant, and then I worked at Vertigo. And I'd also...
You're quite the hustler, eh?
Yeah. Like, I was just busy. I think I've got a bit of ADHD or something.
Same here.
You don't like being
behind the camera as
stagnant
well.
or static. No, we all suffer from that. We all suffer from that, man. After this, we're getting gigs, doing events next week.
Exactly.
Speaking over each other, that's ADHD right there, man.
So that's always been my vibe. And I mean, even in Reyes, I'd sell like denims that my cousin used to import from Turkey to like some of my friends. I did the PMF. So yeah, I've always been that kind of person. And when I started working, that sort of continued.
Yeah.
And so when I started working, I had my own side hustle for W, which we sort of did.
Yeah.
And then as my career progressed, like entrepreneurship things happen. Business partners grow in different directions, and a lot of things happen. So 4W doesn't exist in the format that it used to anymore.
Okay.
And so I started Endurance during COVID, out of a need to, first of all, address a challenge that I suppose I'd identified from a few calls that I was getting, where people were like trying to figure out like, how do we pivot from brick and mortar, what we used to be doing, to this lockdown world? How do we still make income, get our brands out there? Should we even be visible during this time? Does it make sense? Like, so, and then also just like the general conversation of people, like different communities feeling like, oh my God, what is happening in the world? Like, it's
because it was an uncertain time.
Yeah, it was a very uncertain time, and people were looking for answers. So that's how Endurance started, and our whole thing is to be leading growth partners for communities, businesses, and brands. And it's rough. Like, I think anyone that is a young entrepreneur knows, like, it's tough. You
100%.
need to there's a mindset and a grit. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I called the business endurance. One of the reasons the reason I called the business endurance was because I love the spaceship in Interstellar. I don't know if you guys have watched that movie.
I've seen Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. So that spaceship goes through, I mean, the people go through a lot.
Quite a lot.
But the spaceship also goes through a lot. And what I loved about it was the spaceship actually ends up completing its mission. And it had minimal fuel left. Like, they had to do some tricks towards the end.
Just to make sure that, they carry out the mission.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that, the thinking of that, to say, you know what, it's gonna happen. No maganjani. You know what I mean? Yes, it's a your new spaceship. So I was like, it's gonna happen, and it's happening in COVID. So it's already started out like
on a rocky start. Yeah, on a rocky start.
Yeah, it's like,
should we be doing this?
Should we be doing this?
You know, see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and I'd also just read a book called Grit. And I was like, okay, this is working out nicely. This insurance.
Sorry, Grit by?
I can't remember the author's name. I can't remember the author's name.
They got the name though.
Yeah, but it's basically the book explains how the people who become really successful are not like your A students or the smartest people, it's the people that will stick to what it is that they set out to do. Come hell or high water. Like so that's why. So I found that fascinating, because what it's saying to me is that you don't need to be particularly talented in that kind of way. I think people see people at the top of the field and think like, wow, this person is so talented. You don't need to be the smartest person. You don't need to be the loudest or have like come from a family where it's all set up for you. You know what I mean? You just need to be that person that at the end of the day you feel like, you know what, it's gonna happen. Like, I'm doing this, I'm sticking it out, it's gonna happen. So for me, so endurance became this thing that I was playing with between seeing the movie Interstellar and feeling like, damn, like these guys really went through a lot. The spaceship went through a lot too, but they made it. Like they actually did the thing, and it worked out actually better than I think they even thought it was gonna work out. Even though it's like dodgy, but
it was a bit weird, eh?
Yeah. Because
that's business. Sorry, that's business, right? Like, you have this beautiful vision, you've got this beautiful idea, and you never really know what the end outcome is. Even though it's going to be successful, but then when you get to the point where you're supposed to get, that's when you see, and it's
and sometimes it can be even more beautiful than you expected. You know what I mean? So for example, in the movie Interstellar, they do save humanity, so they get the human beings off of Earth, and they get the planet, and they start the repopulation mission on the new planet. Because they thought they had option A or option B, and they actually ended up with both. They ended up in a better,
in a better landing.
So for me, I was like, really, wow, like endurance. We need and then I read this book, and so I was like, okay, great. And as I think as a young person, especially in this country where there's the environment is not the most conducive to young people starting out businesses. Too small for small businesses either. So there really needs to be something inside you that's like, like, I'm gonna win, like this thing is gonna happen, and that requires endurance. It requires you day in, day out, knowing that even if I'm having a bad day today, or a bad week, or a bad month, or a bad year, or 3 bad years,
doesn't matter.
Do you know what I
mean?
Year. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's I'm sticking to this thing. It's gonna happen. Who do we need to call? How do we need to make this thing happen? What do we need to black patch? Like, how do we put the right team together, how like let's figure it out,
figure
and
everything
also
out.
the inner resource also spiritually of feeling like you've got enough to go the mile, like,
Yeah.
because, and that's my whole thing. What I'm hoping to do actually with endurance is to make it more than just the business and the brand endurance. I'm really hoping that it becomes a movement for young entrepreneurs, businesses and brands in general, to build a culture of people who look after themselves spiritually, emotionally, physically, while pursuing this thing that we're trying to build. Because a big part of my career I spent not doing that. I was so in this, like, chasing success for my career, like,
Yeah.
trying to put out the best work, trying to meet all these people that I felt would put me on the next level, and attend the right events, and like
All
connect
that
with
stuff,
and do
yeah.
all of the stuff.
Yeah.
My mental health deteriorated, my spirituality deteriorated, my
Deteriorates, that's
physical
true,
health
man.
deteriorated. Just generally as a person, my relationships, my finances,
Yeah.
everything fell apart while I'm trying to pursue this thing that I think is going
you think
to
is going to put you
level me
there.
up and put
Yeah.
me there. Everything fell apart. And it made me realize that you cannot pursue the thing that you're pursuing while you are falling
While
apart.
you are falling apart,
And your
It
relationships
doesn't
with people.
go one or the other.
No, you're not gonna
It's
get there.
100%.
gotta point to your
Like,
jug.
yeah, you're not gonna get there. Yeah, you need to come to the situation. And obviously, like, there's some, you're not gonna have everything correct all the time. Maybe your finances are not gonna be popping while your relationships are popping. Maybe your relationships are not gonna be popping while your finances or the work is coming in or whatever. But being conscious and aware, and maintaining some spiritual practice, something that connects you to whatever it is that you believe in, or however it is that you stay in your body and connected to source, is very important. So I hope that that's what endurance represents over time.
And just to quickly add, before we go to our break quickly, I think what you mentioned is so important, especially for young black youth. For a lot of us, we are the first in our families and the first generation that is able to have the time, and I'm not even talking about resources, to chase our dreams, or that can afford that, and in that, I often find, like you mentioned, is that our overall well-being always comes to the expense of that. It's always like one or the other, and that's really unfair, because it's no way to live for anyone.
Absolutely not. And some of these things we're not even aware, and we don't have control over.
Yeah.
So, like, even for me, I speak about this on my Instagram lives and my podcast. So, like, one of the great things that I learned from my grandfather was to be aware of the things that are going on in the world, and be so with a critical eye. You know what I mean? So don't just watch the news and be like, if there's something going on the news and you feel like, I need to call up my lawyer for this, because this is some crazy, I need this explained to me, what's going on. You need to do it with a critical eye. But he was also a very heavy drinker. You know what I mean? And I also took on that trait from him, and I've needed to do healing in terms of that part of my life
And it
as
takes
well.
years to unlearn.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Years and years to unlearn.
We need to quickly run to the ad break, gentlemen. We'll be back, of course, to continue these conversations. Very, very valuable conversations
100%.
at that, might I add. The time's exactly 15 minutes after 5. It is UCT Radio, the soundtrack to your campus life. Catch this podcast on Friendlyfiretv very, very, very soon. Of course, new project that we just started out, man. This is Trendy. I got Arturo Mexicano and our guest Tebe Monse in Stu. We'll be back. Lit music and dope chats, man.
Boom.
24/7 around the world in the summer, non-stop. This is UCT Radio.
Okay, let's go. SG Lewis featuring Lucky Day. Feed the fire. Feed the fire. Are you feeling the fire right now?
I was gonna ask you, are you feeling the vibes?
I'm feeling the vibes, but we gotta feed the fire, bro. Throw some petrol or paraffin on it.
And I know what you mean when I buy petrol. So I think I'm gonna hold off from feeding the fire, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Saturday afternoon drive show. Welcome to everyone that's tuning in on YouTube. Welcome to everyone that's listening to us live in the studio today. We've got Utebe. So much that we spoke about and covered already. And back to you, Utebe. Look, Utebe, the topic for today was looking at how we can be innovative as creators, and by creators we are not only talking about marketing or the PR world. As you know, we are talking about social media, we're talking about content creating, we're talking about arts, we're talking about entrepreneurs as well. And actually, before we went on the break, there's a question that you had about the business.
There was a question I wanted to ask about your business. So I mean, you started Endurance Africa, ne? The name of the business. So you started Endurance Africa, and what I'm trying to know or find out is on a practical level, take me through like what you are doing for a brand and so on, in terms of like the practicality side of things. So if I was your client, for example, and as a DJ I need more people to book me, you know, type of thing, how do you go about dissecting that sort of, you know, challenge and activity and so on?
Okay, thank you, Trendy. So I think the solutions vary according to what, you know, any particular client is looking to have solved or looking for as a service that we would provide. But I mean, it could be a go-to market strategy for, let's say, a startup, a small business that's launching a product or a service that's trying to, you know, access the market. So like, how do we access the market? What do we need to do? Do we need to be on socials? Do we need a website? What kind of PR comms initiatives can we start taking on the budgets that we kind of have now? You know, where are, you know, key points of sale for us to start looking at? Who is our target audience? Is there a unique or interesting way that we can communicate to these people across channels? You know, so if that's like a small business and, you know, they want to access the market, that could be, you know, something that we could do for them. But if you're a bigger brand or business and you need, let's say, research or consumer insights on a particular consumer segment or at a particular time of the year, maybe you are launching a new product and you're trying to find out whether it will resonate with young people, you know, whatever, you know, those interventions might be, you know, if you're trying to understand which channel segmentation, like should you be on social media, should this campaign live on social media or on TV or on radio, or, you know, how do we approach this? Do we need out of home media? Do we need a billboard? What goes up on there creatively as well? What kind of messaging will, you know, resonate with customers? So it really depends on the challenge that the business has and what it is that they're trying to achieve. But I will like to like throw out there that, you know, for us, the business Endurance, what we're really passionate about is partnering with our clients. So with your business or brand, our real aim is to partner with you to deliver growth for your business. So ideally, you'd be coming to us to say, hey, we're looking at a 3 to 5 year time horizon, you're looking at a 10-year time horizon, and we, you know, have this product or service, or we have this business. How do we get from, you know, A to B? How do we maximize on growth? How do we, and so we partner with you on that journey. And that could be you as a small business, as an individual. You know, if you're an artist and you're selling merch and you're trying to figure out how do I make money in this like streaming environment where people are not like, you know, we can help you on that growth journey. If you're a small business and you're selling like bags or shoes, kicks, whatever it is, we want to help you on that growth journey so that you can realize that potential. Because I think the other thing is just the environment that we live in now, especially as young people, where there's early success that is shown to a lot of us, we tend not to stick out with the initial plans and ideas that we had.
True.
And so I think having a partner who comes in and says, "Eyo, yeah, we started this thing a year ago, 2 years ago. We had a 5-year, 10-year time horizon on this. Just because the economy is bad, or just because there's a competitor that's come out with a new product, or just because things are cyclical as well. So you're not always popping. It's not always going to be harvest season. Having that partner there, that you're not on your own. We can work through this thing together. We can think through this thing together. We can execute on this thing together. I think is something that I even know I need, even now as a young entrepreneur. And I want to be of that same service to other entrepreneurs, because I know how important that support is. And so for endurance is that's why our whole motto, our whole philosophy is to be a leading growth partner for communities, businesses and brands. So people who have those plans for the next 3, 5, 10 years, even more, we want to partner with you to achieve whatever it is those goals are. So that's really what we try to do. And it could look like comms, it could look like product development, it could look like research and content, it could look like anything. But like, how do we get you to where you need to go?
Beautiful, man.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That's really amazing stuff. And thank you for sharing with us. So I really wanted to ask you, and unfortunately time flies, and I know this is kind of the last question that we have with you, so no pressure. Also no pressure on myself, because if it's a bad question, then what a waste of
you got the weight on your shoulder.
So speaking about innovation, when we talk about innovation, the first thing is always the idea, the inception. Those are one of the things and one of the ways in which we can influence innovation. You are an entrepreneur, you are a seasoned strategist, you are a broadcaster, podcaster. How are you using your voice to influence change and new ideas?
So innovation is very interesting, because I also think like people get stuck on innovation and think it's like a digital thing, it's like a tech thing.
That's true, actually.
You know what I mean? But innovation could be a new, interesting way of packaging
a product even. That's true.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
complex.
It doesn't have to be like
like
IT
that.
related, or this whole tech and digital
like that.
world. Type of thing, because that's where the world is going. And I understand, because every time the word innovation is coming up now, it's
The
always
first
in the
thing we
light
think
of
about,
technology,
100%,
AI, for example, and all these things that are
100%.
coming out there. But innovation really is just doing something differently.
Yes. So it could take shape or form in a lot of different ways. It could even be in the way that you discuss or tackle political discourse. So that's one of the things that I do. For example, I have my Instagram page where it's literally the dedicated medium that I use on that platform is video, to discuss my ideas and to share content from my podcast and go live. And then I've got another page where I just live freely as a human being every day. Because what I identified about social media was that, yes, of course, there's this strong branding and messaging component to it, that it can leverage the platform to position yourself for opportunities and in the world. But there's also that part that the early days of social media was just about like sharing with like your family and friends what you might have had for lunch, or what you up to, and that kind of thing. And so that's how I created the distinction between Tebe, the person that's trying to position themselves in the world, and the guy that's just living their everyday life. And in the video format, I will share like my thoughts and my ideas, and if there's innovation in there, typically I get feedback immediately. Like people will say, for example, I even got a tweet back from the city of Cape Town when I noticed that the My City buses don't use NFTs from phones to scan, we have to use our cards. There could be reasons why the MyCity bus system works that way. It could literally be that having cards on our phones might
mean that
be
it's
an
susceptible to
opportunity
cloning and so
or
forth.
crime or theft, or there may be reasons, but it was just the tweet that I sent out to say it's interesting that we can tap to pay, but we can't tap to get on the bus with our phones. And I mean that lives in the world of innovation, but certain kinds of signage on a sidewalk to help people who are visually impaired lives in the realm of innovation as well.
Sorry, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, if you're talking about people who are visually impaired, we could have little poles with braille writing on them. As a blind person, you get accustomed that if I'm standing here, there should be a pole somewhere in braille. I'll be able to know exactly what's going on. You might even still have your guide dog, but that is innovation because you're introducing something that caters to that community.
100%.
Yeah. So innovation comes in. I mean, even I think an innovation that everyone takes for granted, even like every day, is that cardboard that comes around your coffee cup.
Yes.
When you buy coffee.
Yes,
that was an innovation at some point. Someone said this thing is hot.
True.
Yeah,
You can't
I
just
need
leave
something
grabbing,
to hold this
something,
thing. Yeah.
So it comes in many shapes and forms. It's just about what the intention is and whether it's serving a purpose. That is, and it's I suppose a new way of doing things or thinking that is being actualized or effected some way in the world. So I think, and to stay on the cutting edge of that kind of thinking, you need to put yourself out. You need to expose yourself to the world.
You need to be explorative. You need to
be very
really look at
curious.
things that. I like the term you used, looking at things with a critical eye, because sometimes we really do look at things like for just what they are. And I like that we're on this topic of innovation. I mean, a suitcase. It never had wheels, but someday a pilot was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. I need to cart this thing around. Let me innovate. Let me put wheels on this thing. And
such
it
a
became
small
a whole
thing
thing.
changed
Such a
the
small
world.
thing, it changed. And now it's even like, it's a value creator in a fashion or design sense. Your suitcase has wheels, mine doesn't.
100%.
Yours is probably going to cost more.
100%.
So really, like, good point. Really great point.
Yeah. No, shout out to you, and thank you so much for once again coming today and gracing us with your presence. There's a lot that myself and Trendy, and I'm sure everyone at home and everyone listening would have gained, and insights they would have gained from you. Now, for anyone that would like to get into contact with you, anyone that would like to watch some of your videos that exist online, connect with your company, do business, and etc., where can we reach you? What are your platforms?
Awesome. So it's Tebe Monte across all social media.
Okay.
So that's YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, Tebe Monte. And my podcast also is Tebe Monte Podcast. And then Endurance, you can reach us on LinkedIn, Endurance Africa. You can also reach us on social media platforms. So Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, we're there as well. Yeah, Endurance Africa.
Facebook?
Do you have a Facebook? Yeah, we have a Facebook.
This man's everywhere, man. He even forgot some of the things. That's crazy.
So all under Tebe Monte.
All under Tebe Monte, all under Endurance Africa, yeah. All the same branding. Yeah.
Perfect. No, man, thank you again. Like I said, what a great conversation, right?
Yeah, man, very, very insightful conversation. I love the fact that you brought this man here. Sometimes I was saying this in a conversation I was having last week. I like to pick people's brains on things that they claim they do or things that they claim they know about, just to hear how in depth do you actually know what you claim to know, what you say you know. Because sometimes people will say things for the sake of looking like, which is that narrative social media drives so much. We all just want to look like,
100%.
We want to look woke. We want to look like we are, what's the term? In tune, and all these things, or liberal, so to speak, But truly, sometimes we don't know these things. So,
and one thing I can tell you,
at
the Saturday afternoon drive show, we see right through you, baby.
Yeah, baby.
So best believe
you ain't here to talk fluff and we bite. Nah, no candy floss.
Guest that's gonna come on here is someone that's gonna know what they're doing. Just to give a screenshot to everyone at home, do expect more from us. The podcast is going to come out soon. We will share on all social media platforms. Once again, again, thank you so much, Tebe. Thank you to you.
Please drop the Friendlyfiretv social media handles.
Okay. Okay, no, I'm joking. Okay, so you can find the platform, and we'll share again after our break. Please do go subscribe right now where you are on Friendlyfiretv. That's on YouTube. You can also find the platform on Instagram and Facebook, Friendlyfiretv, and we'll share more links after the break.
Yeah, baby. Lit music and dope chats. Tebe, it was very nice having you in Stu, my brother.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All
much.
the best to
Thank
you
you,
in the
guys.
future, man. And I devs know we're gonna keep you, no Arturo. You're gonna do some work for us too, bro.
Definitely,
but
man.
we'll pay you later though.
This man will let us. This man will draft us something, and we'll sign.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
selling
have
our
to
souls
sign, we'll
away. We
sign our
don't even
souls
know. Dangerous man, this one.
5:45 is the
sexy
time.
about it.
UCT Radio, the soundtrack to your campus live. Lit music and dope chats is what we're about.
Ik zie. Pan.